The root causes of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Explain. The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most complex and long-standing disputes in modern history. It has shaped Middle Eastern politics, drawn global attention, and caused immense human suffering on both sides. But what are the root causes of this ongoing conflict? To truly understand why peace remains elusive, we must examine the historical, political, and territorial factors that have fueled tensions for over a century. A history of disputed land. At the heart of the conflict lies the issue of land ownership. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim historical and religious ties to the region, particularly to the land that today comprises Israel and the Palestinian territories of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The region, historically referred to as Palestine, was home to a diverse population of Arabs and Jews for centuries under Ottoman rule. However, tensions escalated in the late 19th and early 20th centuries due to two competing nationalist movements. One, Zionism, a movement advocating for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, driven by the desire for self-determination and protection from rising anti-Semitism in Europe. Two, Arab nationalism, a movement calling for independence and self-governance for Arab populations in the Middle East, including the rejection of growing Jewish immigration. These conflicting national aspirations set the stage for future confrontations. The Balfour Declaration and British Mandate. In 1917, during World War I, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, which expressed support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. However, this conflicted with earlier promises Britain had made to Arab leaders regarding independence in exchange for their support against the Ottoman Empire. After the war, Britain took control of Palestine under a League of Nations mandate. Jewish immigration to Palestine surged, largely due to persecution in Europe. However, this led to violent clashes between Jewish and Arab communities as Arabs feared displacement. The 1930s saw large-scale Arab revolts, which the British suppressed while also limiting Jewish immigration. The United Nations Partition Plan and the creation of Israel after World War II and the Holocaust, global sympathy for the Jewish cause grew, increasing support for a Jewish homeland. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a partition plan recommending the division of Palestine in two: a Jewish state, Israel, an Arab state, Palestine, an international zone for Jerusalem. Jewish leaders accepted the plan, but Arab leaders rejected it, arguing it unfairly allocated land to the Jewish state. The rejection of the partition plan led to further violence. In 1948, Jewish leaders declared the State of Israel, triggering the first Arab-Israeli war as neighboring Arab nations invaded. By the end of the war, Israel controlled more land than proposed by the UN plan. Jordan occupied the West Bank, and Egypt took control of Gaza. Around 750,000 Palestinians were displaced, leading to the Nakba catastrophe, an event still central to Palestinian identity today. The 1967 Six-Day War and Israeli occupation. Tensions remained high, leading to the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel defeated Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. As a result, Israel occupied the West Bank from Jordan, Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, Golan Heights from Syria, East Jerusalem. This occupation significantly reshaped the conflict. While Israel later returned Sinai to Egypt under a peace agreement, it continues to occupy the West Bank and control access to Gaza. The construction of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, often considered illegal under international law, has further fueled Palestinian resentment. Palestinian resistance and peace efforts over the decades. Palestinians have resisted Israeli occupation in various ways, including diplomacy, protests, and armed uprisings. The First Intifada, 1987 to 1993, a mass uprising known as the First Intifada, erupted in 1987. Palestinians protested Israeli rule through strikes, demonstrations, and occasional violence. This led to the signing of the Oslo Accords, 1993, which created the Palestinian Authority, PA, to govern parts of the West Bank. In Gaza, recognized Israel's right to exist while acknowledging Palestinian self-rule aspirations. However, the peace process stalled due to continued settlement expansions, violence, and political disagreements. The Second Intifada, 2000 to 2005, a second, more violent uprising erupted in 2000, triggered by a visit by Israeli leader Ariel Sharon to a contested religious site in Jerusalem. The Second Intifada involved suicide bombings and attacks on Israeli civilians, Israeli military operations in Palestinian territories, the construction of a security barrier in the West Bank that be why the time it ended. Over 4,000 people had died, and peace efforts were further derailed. Modern-day conflict and ongoing struggles. Today, the conflict remains unresolved. Gaza, controlled by Hamas, has seen repeated clashes with Israel, involving airstrikes, rocket attacks, and blockades. Meanwhile, the West Bank faces Israeli military operations, settlement expansions, and frequent protests. Peace remains elusive due to unresolved core issues. Key issues preventing peace. 1. Borders and land. Palestinians seek a state based on pre-1967 borders, while Israel wants security control over strategic areas. 2. Jerusalem. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim Jerusalem as their capital. 3. Palestinian refugees. Millions of Palestinian refugees demand the right to return to their ancestral homes. 4. Israeli settlements. The expansion of Jewish settlements in the West Bank is a major obstacle to peace. 5. Security concerns. Israel cites security threats from Hamas and other militant groups, while Palestinians face military occupation and restrictions. Is there a path to peace? Despite decades of violence, diplomatic efforts continue. The two-state solution, which envisions an independent Palestine alongside Israel, has been widely discussed but faces political and ideological obstacles. Others advocate for a one-state solution, where Jews and Palestinians share equal rights, but this raises concerns about governance and national identities. For peace to be possible, both sides must recognize each other's rights and national aspirations, compromise on territorial and security issues, end violence and promote diplomacy, ensure fair governance and representation. Conclusion: the Israel-Palestine conflict is deeply rooted in history, nationalism, and territorial disputes. Understanding its origins helps us grasp why peace remains so difficult to achieve. While efforts for resolution continue, only through mutual recognition, compromise, and dialogue can both peoples hope for a future without war and suffering. What are your thoughts on this complex issue? Do you believe peace is possible? Let us know in the comments below. Loudspeaker, if you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth discussions on global conflicts and history. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.